On the 20th of May, a new reagent was added to the beta of Legion, the War Tome of the Sharpened Mind. This heralds a new way for talents to be changed, and has caused a bit of a stir in the community. So, in this video, we're going to go over how talent swapping is currently working in the beta, what effects this change might have, and my general thoughts on it. Right now, on the live version of World of Warcraft, you can swap between talents and glyphs at will, as long as A, you're not in combat, and B, you have a reagent, either Vanishing Powder up to level 80, Dust of Disappearance up to level 85, and Tome of the Clear Mind up to level 100. You can create these if you're a scribe, or you can buy them from most trade goods vendors. Most max level players will have a good amount of Tomes of the Clear Mind so that they can swap talents at will. Alternatively, you can talk to your class trainer to reset your talents or glyphs for an incremental gold cost. In Legion, this is going to change. Now, you are capable of changing talents and your specialization at will completely for free as long as you're in a rest area. These are major cities or taverns at settlements that provide you with the rested experience bonus and allow you to log off instantly rather than waiting for 20 seconds. While you're in these areas, talent swapping is completely free. While you're out in the world, you cannot change talents unless you have access to a War Tome of the Sharpened Mind. Created by the inscription profession, this sets out a tome, in much the same way as you would, say, a feast, allowing nearby players to adjust their talents, again for free, as long as they're not in combat. The item that sets down the tome can be used by anyone, not just scribes, but the current cost of creating one of these tomes is 200 light parchment, which can be bought from vendors, 10 sallow pigment, and 100 roseate pigment. These are commonly milled from Legion herbs. That's a lot of reagents just for one tome, which means that A, scribes will have a steady source of income, and B, they're going to be expensive at launch. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that if you want to swap your talents on the fly, like say when soloing older content or while in a raid instance, you're going to have to either hearth back to a major city, return to the nearest inn, use a War Tome of the Sharpened Mind from your own inventory, or take advantage of one placed by someone else nearby. Raid teams are going to need to be stocked on these War Tomes, to the point where, on Mythic Progression, you'll want at least one per boss, and at most, one per pull, and it will likely be wise for a player who's going to do some challenging solo content, i.e. content that will require you to change your talents in order to be successful, to bring a few of these tomes with them. The community outcry regarding this change is understandable. We currently enjoy the benefits of being able to change talents whenever we want, because a full stack of Tomes of the Clear Mind, that's a stack of 200, can last a very long time, and is very cheap. Being unable to change talents very often seems, at first, to be extremely detrimental, as there are many classes and specializations where changing between talents in between bosses and trash packs in a 5-man dungeon will be necessary if you want to be optimal, as a lot of talent trees aren't constructed in such a way as to allow both strong AoE and strong single target damage. The AoE talents are often on different tiers, competing with single target talents, and you have to pick between one or the other. For a lot of classes, this is a very big deal. Compared to the current system, it's also extremely bothersome. A lot of raiders are likely going to lean on their warlocks even more than they are right now to provide summons, and it may be common for players to just Hearthstone out of a raid in between pulls and ask for summons back just so that they can swap a talent out. Yeah, that seems a touch excessive, and I'm sure a lot of guilds will stamp down on that kind of behavior. But unless a raid team puts in a concerted effort to have a well-stocked guild bank with lots of War Tomes in it, this could be an issue. All of that said, I am in favour of this change, and here's why. First of all, it empowers the inscription profession. For the longest time, scribes have had very little to create solid, consistent demand and income. Glyphs provided an unreliable and ultimately dwindling source of income. Tomes were practically useless past a certain level. Dark Moon cards and trinkets were mirrored by every other profession as a piece of craftable gear. And making the reagents to swap talents is pointless, because everyone right now can just buy them for an extremely low price from trade goods vendors. Now, with the inclusion of War Tomes, scribes will have a much needed service that is going to be in high demand. It makes the profession much more enticing for players seeking to make an income on top of the other services that Inscription can provide. As I said, raiders are going to want to have access to these War Tomes at all times whilst raiding, which makes scribes extremely valuable to them. On top of this change also empowers talents themselves. Right now, it's very easy to see talents as a sort of non-choice. You can swap between them so easily that you may as well have access to all 3 choices on a talent tier, and you can only use 1 choice per combat encounter. Let me put it like this. The process of buying a huge stack of Tomes of the Clear Mind beforehand, changing out a talent after a fight, dragging it onto your action bar or using a macro to avoid this step, and then using the talent in combat, that's not fun. There's nothing compelling about it. It doesn't change how you play, it doesn't make the talents feel special or unique or powerful, it's just a second spellbook. It adds a level of delay between fights to optimize yourself. By preventing the swapping of talents outside of rest zones, this change adds an extra incentive to visit an inn or a city. It also adds to the feeling of those places being safe, as it lets your character pause to change their battle plans and practice their fighting style, and enhances the idea that the world of Warcraft is dangerous. To a character in the world, even a powerful adventurer like us, sitting down in the middle of a war zone or a dangerous forest to consider how to fight is ridiculous. It's a surefire way to get yourself killed. If you needed to pause and revise your strategy, you would do it in a safe place, either one that's definitely safe, like a city or a tavern, or one that you create yourself with your allies or with magic. It adds a tiny, almost unnoticeable level of immersion to the process, and I like the idea of having another tangible, gameplay-related reason to want to visit a city or an inn. I think that right now, a lot of folks are outraged at this change because it takes a game that is fundamentally easy to access and makes it just a little bit more gated. You have to do a certain thing before you change your talents. Casual players likely won't notice this though, as either they won't be interested in swapping talents around because they're not interested in optimizing themselves, or they can easily reach a rest zone to do so. Hardcore Mythic Raiders will likely not feel this change either. With the resources available to a progressed Mythic guild, millions of gold, lots of players, and lots of contacts, acquiring war tomes either through the auction house or through in-guild scribes or acquaintances won't take too long or be too expensive, and it also allows said scribes to contribute to their guild with their primary profession. So, overall, I am in favour of this change, although I do feel that if this system is going to remain as it is, then some talent positioning may need to be revised for some classes, as it will either force those classes to pick between being extremely strong in single-target boss fights, or AoE trash pack clearing, or being sort of middle of the road at both. Perhaps that's the intention. I don't know. I could be wrong. Let me know what you think about this change in the comments. I, for one, I like it. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or suggestions, including ideas for future videos, then you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in the world of Warcraft.